What happens when a woman who has spent 6 decades being bold, breaking rules, and redefining herself a million times sits down for what should be a victory lap interview, and her entire career and legacy get reduced to jokes about her age and looks? You are about to witness one of the most legendary confrontations ever caught on daytime TV. The moment Cher reminded us all why she's still standing after enduring the radical 70s, the disco craze, the outrageous 80s, the 90s, and beyond. She didn't become a legend by letting people walk all over her, and she proved it on that very stage. The studio went silent. The audience held their breath. What happened next blew everyone away. The morning started with an energy the production team hadn't seen in months. Cher was coming on the show not just any celebrity, but a living icon who had been famous longer than half the staff had been alive. Her record sales had topped 100 million. She'd won an Oscar for Moonstruck, a Grammy, an Emmy, and had awards filling entire rooms in her mansion. Each time the world had tried to write her off, she'd emerged stronger than ever, like a phoenix rising from ashes that the critics had prematurely thrown to the wind. At 78, Cher arrived with her trademark grace. She didn't need volume or theatrics to command attention. Her presence alone was enough to fill the room. She was on the show to promote her new album and her upcoming residency, a clear statement that she had no intention of quietly disappearing. Her publicist had promised a friendly, celebratory interview, but Joy Behar had other plans. Behind the scenes, sources later revealed, Joy had been complaining for weeks about what she called a parade of aged celebrities refusing to accept their expiry dates. She found the fact that icons like Cher were still performing and creating to be exhausting. Cher, vibrant and unstoppable, was everything that frustrated Joy about fame's stubborn refusal to move on. The studio lights blazed as Cher took her seat at the legendary table. Dressed in black, her dark hair framing a face that had graced magazine covers for 6 decades, she exuded pure power. The audience burst into a standing ovation, bringing a genuine smile to her face and tears to the eyes of longtime fans. Whoopi Goldberg, a legend in her own right, opened the segment with glowing admiration. "Our next guest needs no introduction, but she deserves one anyway," Whoopi announced. 6 decades in the entertainment business, over 100 million records sold, an Oscar, a Grammy, an Emmy. Still going strong. Please welcome the one and only, Cher. The applause grew louder as Cher settled gracefully into her chair. "Thank you. That's very sweet. I've been watching all of you for years, so it's fun for me too," she said warmly. When asked about her new album, Cher's eyes lit up. She talked about her collaborations with younger artists, about the joy of creating new music after all these years. Her answers were sharp and direct, the same honesty that had defined her entire career. "People keep asking me when I'm going to retire," Cher declared, "and I keep telling them the same thing. I'll retire when I'm dead. Maybe not even then. I'll probably haunt a casino in Vegas and continue performing for the ghosts." The audience erupted in laughter. This was the Cher they knew and loved, irreverent, unstoppable, and razor-sharp. Everything was going perfectly. Then Joy Behar leaned in, her eyes gleaming with an unmistakable predatory glint. The atmosphere in the room instantly shifted. The other hosts knew that look, and they braced themselves. "So Cher," Joy began, her voice laced with challenge, "you say you'll never retire, that you'll keep going forever. But let's be real here. You're 78 years old. At what point does it stop being inspiring and start to feel a little bit sad? Watching someone who clearly should be enjoying retirement still trying so hard to prove something to the world." The words landed like a blow. The studio was plunged into a dead, breathless silence. The other hosts exchanged uneasy glances. Cher's face remained impassive, but anyone who knew her could see a subtle hardening in her eyes, a sharpened focus that signaled a warning no one in their right mind should ignore. "Sad," Cher repeated slowly, letting the word hang in the air as if she were tasting something unexpectedly bitter. "You think it's sad that I'm still doing what I love, that I'm still selling out arenas around the world, that I'm still creating, and that there are millions of people out there who still want to hear me." Joy waved her hand dismissively. "I'm just saying what a lot of people are thinking," she insisted. "There comes a time when you just have to accept that your moment has passed. You've had an amazing career, Cher, but perhaps it's time to step aside and let the younger generation have the spotlight instead of desperately clinging to it like a life raft." A wave of discomfort rippled through the audience. Sunny Hostin looked as if she wished the floor would swallow her whole. Even Whoopi Goldberg, who had witnessed countless tense moments over the years, looked startled by Joy's aggressive challenge. Cher leaned back in her chair, her voice calm but with an undeniable edge of steel. "Let me ask you something, Joy. How old are you?" Joy blinked, caught off guard. "I'm 82. 82, Cher echoed, letting the number sink in. And you're still sitting at this table every single day, sharing your opinions, doing your job, and collecting your paycheck. Should you retire, step aside, and give the spotlight to younger journalists? Or does your rule about knowing when to step down only apply to everyone else? The counterattack was swift and devastatingly accurate. Joy's confident demeanor cracked for the first time. That's different. I'm not on stage, changing outfits, and pretending I'm 30 again. Cher let out a harsh, humorless laugh. Honey, I've never pretended to be anything I'm not. I'm 78 and I look like a 78-year-old woman. I just happen to look like a 78-year-old woman who takes care of herself and refuses to apologize for it. Is that what bothers you? That I haven't let myself go the way you think I should have? Murmurs rippled through the audience, some of discomfort, others of quiet agreement. Joy pressed on. What I'm saying is, these endless comeback tours are starting to look a little desperate. You've had, 5 farewell tours by now? At some point, farewell should mean farewell. It feels like you can't let go of the past. Cher's eyes narrowed, radiating danger and fierce determination. Let me tell you about letting go, Joy. I've let go of 2 marriages, one of which was broadcast live to millions of people every week. I've let go of people I loved who died far too young. I've let go of decades of my life to an industry that constantly told me I was finished, washed up, a has-been, a relic. What I haven't let go of is my right to keep working, to keep creating, to keep living life on my own terms. And I never will, no matter how many people think they know what's best for me. She leaned forward, her presence now completely dominating the studio, a potent reminder of why she'd been a star for 60 years. Do you want to know what desperate looks like? Desperate is sitting behind a desk, taking cheap shots at a woman who has achieved more in her lifetime than most people could in 10. Desperate is trying to tear someone down because their refusal to give up makes you uncomfortable about your own choices, your own mortality, your own relevance. That, my dear, is desperate. The words landed with devastating accuracy. Joy's smirk wavered, though she tried quickly to regain her composure. I'm just pointing out what everyone can see, the plastic surgery, the costumes, the wigs, the whole spectacle. At some point, it starts to feel like it's more about vanity than music. When does the art take center stage again? Cher's expression transformed from dark amusement to a steely, cold resolve. Ah, there it is, she said slowly, nodding. I was wondering how long it would take to get to the plastic surgery. Let's talk about it, Joy, since you seem so eager to bring it up. Yes, I've had work done. I've never once denied it. I've been transparent about it for decades while others lied through their teeth. Why? Because it's my face, it's my body, it's my choice, and I don't owe anyone an explanation or an apology for doing what I want with my own appearance. Cher turned to the audience, her voice rising with power and passion. You know what's interesting? When men in Hollywood get older, they're called distinguished silver-haired foxes. They're cast as romantic leads well into their 60s and 70s, paired with women half their age. But when women age, we're expected to fade away quietly, gracefully. And if we choose to maintain our appearance, we're called fake, desperate, plastic. And if we don't, we're called washed up, over the hill, letting ourselves go. We can't win. So I made a choice a long time ago to stop playing that rigged game altogether. The audience erupted in a wave of applause, but Cher wasn't finished. The dam had broken, and decades of deflecting criticism with a smile gave way to something raw, powerful, and necessary. I've been famous since I was 18. I've watched this industry chew up and spit out women for 60 years. I've seen incredibly talented, brilliant women told they were too old at 30, at 40, at 50 women who still had so much to offer, pushed aside to make room for the next young thing. I decided from the very beginning that no one was going to define my expiration date. Not the studios, not the critics, not the tabloids, and certainly not people like you who think your opinion should dictate my life. Joy tried to regain control of the situation. But isn't there a sense of inauthenticity to all of this? The wigs, the costumes, the elaborate productions? Is that really you, or just a character hiding behind a mask? Cher let out a bitter, sharp laugh. Inauthenticity? Let me tell you about authentic. Authentic is growing up in such poverty that my mother had to leave me in an orphanage for a while because she couldn't feed me. Authentic is being told I was too weird, too ethnic looking, too different to ever make it in show business. Authentic is having dyslexia so severe that I couldn't even read a script properly until I was in my 40s and had to memorize every single line over and over. That, my dear, is authentic. Her voice dropped, becoming intimate and intensely personal. The wigs, the costumes, they are my armor. They are what I built to protect the real me from a world that constantly wanted to tear me down. And you know what? It worked. I'm still standing here. How many of the people who said I was finished are even relevant today? How many of the critics who wrote me off are even remembered? I've outlasted them all, every single one, and I did it by being exactly who I wanted to be, not who anyone else thought I should be. A hush fell over the studio. Even Joy seemed affected by the weight of her words. But let's talk about letting go, Cher continued, her voice gaining intensity. Do you want to know what letting go really means? I stood at Sonny's funeral after years of the media turning our divorce into a punchline, into a joke, into pure entertainment. I stood there and eulogized the man I loved, hated, and loved again, the father of my child, while cameras captured every single tear for the evening news. That is letting go. Her voice wavered slightly, but her resolve remained unbreakable. I watched my child struggle with their identity for years before coming out as transgender. I stood by them while the whole world judged my parenting, my family, my choices. I didn't do everything perfectly. I made mistakes. But I learned, I grew, and I supported my child through one of the most difficult journeys a person can go through. I've buried friends, lovers, colleagues. I've said goodbye to more people than I can count. So please, do not you dare lecture me about letting go. I know more about letting go than you will ever know in 10 lifetimes. Joy opened her mouth to speak, but Cher held up a hand. The studio fell completely silent. No, Cher said firmly. You've had your say. You've questioned my relevance, my authenticity, my appearance, and my right to continue working. Now, you're going to hear mine. She stood up, her presence radiating a force of nature. I started performing when Kennedy was president. I've survived Vietnam, Watergate, disco, Reagan, two Bushes, and everything in between. I've had #1 hits in 6 consecutive decades. 6. Do you have any idea how many artists in the entire history of recorded music have achieved that? I can count them on one hand, and I'll still have fingers left over. And you want to tell me it's time to step aside? Her voice rose, fierce and unrelenting. I've sold out tours that younger artists would kill for. My songs are played on radios around the world every single day. I have fans who are 18 and discovering my music on TikTok. I have fans who are 80 and bought my first album in 1965. I connect generations. Joy, I bring people together. What is it that you do, other than stand at a table and criticize people who actually create things? She turned back to Joy one last time, her gaze unwavering, piercing, and impossible to ignore. I've been written off more times than I can count, Cher said, her voice steady, filled with the weight of 60 years lived and countless battles won. After Sonny and Cher broke up, they said I was finished. After the 70s, finished. After the 80s, finished. After Believe, they thought it was my last hurrah. And every single time I came back stronger. Not to prove something to them, but to prove something to myself. Because giving up was never an option. Because I love what I do too much to let anyone else's opinion stand in my way. She drew herself up with a dignity only earned through surviving life's roughest storms. Joy Behar's face was flushed crimson, and her grip on her pen was white-knuckled. I'm asking legitimate questions about celebrity culture and aging, Joy stammered, her earlier confidence completely gone. No, you're not, Cher retorted, her words like laser beams. You're doing exactly what people have been doing to me my entire career. You're trying to put me in a box, telling me what I should be doing, when I should be doing it, and what I should look like while I'm doing it. And my answer, which has been the same for 60 years, is no. I'll do what I want, when I want, for as long as I want. There is nothing you or anyone else can do about it. She turned to the audience, her voice softening, but her power undiminished. I want every woman watching to hear this. You do not have an expiration date. You are not past your prime just because society tells you you are. You have every right to keep working, creating, and living your life exactly the way you want to, regardless of your age. Do not let anyone tell you when to quit. Do not let anyone tell you what to look like or how to behave. That decision is yours, and yours alone. The audience erupted, their applause shaking the studio walls. Cher nodded in acknowledgement before turning back to Joy, her gaze calm but piercing. Do you know the difference between us, Joy? She asked, her voice quiet but sharp. I've spent my life building things, albums, tours, movies, a career that spans 6 decades. I've created joy for millions of people worldwide. I've given them songs to dance to, songs to cry to, songs to fall in love to. What have you built? What will you leave behind? A collection of insults and hot takes that will be forgotten in a year. I feel sorry for you, Joy. Somewhere along the line, you decided that tearing people down was easier than building them up, that cynicism was the height of sophistication. But all you've done today is show everyone who you truly are. Cher took a deep breath, summoning the quiet dignity of someone who has survived life's fiercest battles. And who I am is someone who's going to walk out of this studio, get on a plane, and perform for 20,000 people who paid to hear me sing. And then I'll do it again tomorrow and the night after that, for as long as I damn well please. Because I am Cher, and I don't quit. I never have, and I never will. With that, she walked off stage, radiating the same confident aura that had propelled her through 6 decades of superstardom. Joy Behar remained at the table, speechless, as if she had just learned a hard lesson about challenging a living legend. What do you think about this unforgettable confrontation? Was Joy out of line, or was she simply doing her job? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below, and don't forget to subscribe for more astonishing stories that will leave you speechless.